Hey, everybody, how's everybody doing today? Hopefully you guys can see and hear me okay. I'm sorry about that brief cutoff there. I was moving my microphone and it hit the keyboard and I don't know. I don't know what happened, but uh somebody chime in, let me know you can see and hear me okay, and so I can keep going here. Let me straighten out my stuff. I was trying to organize and be somewhat on time today, but that's just never going to happen. Let's just face it, I'm late always. But all right, thank you, Steve. Well, it's good to see everybody here. I'm sorry for the short notice on the stream. I had a photo job yesterday, and I had to go to the airport, and uh, I just, I just didn't put up the stream that I was going to be on today. I was planning to do a what you call it, photo editing live stream today instead, but I just didn't give enough notice for you guys to submit images. So I'll try and do one of those again soon. I'm a little out of practice myself of editing images. I don't edit my images too much other than crop and a little contrast usually, but sometimes, it's useful to, really get in there and create the image that you want from a photo. Just for fun, right? I mean, we're not photojournalists where we have to do everything accurate to the scene and no cropping, all of that stuff, right? I mean, I think photojournalists don't even crop, but I don't know. I don't know anything about that business. Anyway, good to see everyone here. Steve Page, another Steve, Christ, and Giuseppe, and Constant Garcia. Oh, that's a new name. I don't think I've seen you here before. Um, David, good to see you. Um, I got a message this morning from, I think it was Dave Nelson. I got an email this morning about the Flickr page. The Flickr group was not up, but when I checked it, it seemed to be fine. So maybe you just weren't logged in or something. Whoever that was, and and I get lots of emails from everyone. Like Lauren, Lauren emails me a lot. Occasionally Rick. Let me set up my other stream because I like to have the chat section over here so that when I watch it back, because I always watch YouTube on my TV, so I don't see the chat messages when I'm watching. Let me get that set up. I totally forgot about that. Uh, Give me a second. I have to there we go. Pop out. Copy this. And let's see. Here's the chat one. It may not even work. It hasn't been working the last few times I tried this. Yeah, that's weird. I got nothing there. I can turn it off and on. Oh, that is weird. I wonder why. Control, no. Let's not do that. Enter. I still don't see anything. Oh, that's frustrating. Yeah, that looks good. No filters. I don't know why the chat window doesn't work anymore. Maybe. Let me try one more thing. I'm sorry. Let me try one more thing and we will we will just go live or stay live without it. Because if I can't see the chat, it's going to be a problem for me. One more try. I got nothing. Okay, screw it. We will just we'll just go without a chat thing over here or here. Everything's opposite. It's kind of like looking through the waist level viewfinders on an old Hassie, which I finished another roll of film on my Pen F film camera, so I need to develop that. And I got 2 rolls back from the camera store last week, and I've been slowly scanning those in, taking my time with it. But I'll finish those. But I posted those on my Flickr page. So if you want to see some Portra 160 film scans, they'll be there. Pictures are okay, nothing fancy. One is I think one is Kodak Gold 400. It's like an old expired film that I found somewhere. It's and I don't even know what camera I shot it on. And and then the other ones, there's some medium format 6x9 film scans there. Those are all dumb because there's only 8 of them. Uh, but it was interesting to see the colors and the kind of sharpness I could get out of that camera. I need to practice my focusing a little bit more with it, the GW 690, and focusing with the little Pen FT. I'll see how this roll came out. I'm doing something a little different with this roll too. I shot with Kodak Tri-X, and the first half of the roll, because it shoots 72 exposures, right? The first half I shot at box speed. The second half I shot one stop slower than box speed. So it should be slightly overexposed. Um, I set it to ISO 200, or yeah, I set it to ISO 200 on the camera, so it's going to overexpose by one stop because it's Tri-X 400. But the idea is to process it normally, and then I've captured more of the shadow detail, and then the highlight shouldn't clip even at one stop on film. It's been my experience, but I was told that's the way to shoot Tri-X, is to shoot it, 200, 250, something like that. So I'm going to give that a shot. I might develop it today and start scanning, but I need to get out and do a product review. I got this gimbal uh, for cell phones and GoPros and stuff, and I'm having a little trouble with the app. But look for a product review. Once I get that out of the way, because I know a lot of you guys don't care about gimbals, but I review products that either I want or need for myself, and or I think you guys might find useful. Like if I get a lens in, I didn't really need a 23 millimeter lens from Seven Artisans, but I thought it'd be useful for you guys, right? And I didn't need the Seven Artisans fisheye lens, but I thought you guys could might be interested in that lens. So those are the only kind of product reviews you'll see. And I'm trying to think. I don't think I've done really any camera reviews. Like here's a review of the M1 Mark III or the M5 Mark III. I mean, I've talked about it and compared them, features and things to each other, but I don't think I've done an actual full-on review of cameras. Something maybe I can start doing, but it honestly, I think it's more important to talk about the features and handling and how this will improve your workflow. Just using it in the field, like my all my real estate, commercial photography type videos. I'd rather do those kind of videos with the cameras. Those are a little bit more practical. And I was watching. Um, we don't need. Plato says we don't need gimbals. We have Ibis. Um, Hi Nicholas, how are you? I'm just looking at the chat. It's down here. I need to mount it up here so that we have a little better eye contact when I'm reading the chat. There's so many things I wanted. I've been doing this what 5 years now, and I still do things pretty much the same as I did them 5 years ago. Uh, not much has changed. Although I have a B camera now here. See, and this is the cable for the scanner. It's so obnoxious just sitting here. Uh, what was I talking about? Oh, the cameras. Something about cameras. I was talking about reviews or something. It's sad when you get slightly distracted and you can't think of what the heck you were just talking about. It's weird. My brain has this window of memory, like what I did 5 seconds ago, I can't remember, but what I did yesterday, I can remember. But then uh what I did 3 or 4 days ago is completely gone. And then I can remember things from years and years ago, things that just kind of stick with you to the grave. But there's this medium term memory is gone. So short term is bad. No, medium short term. See what I mean? Short term is bad. Medium term is decent, like a day or two, and then long term is just totally gone, except for very specific instances, like I said, that are memorable, like that you would keep. So, uh, oh, I was talking about gimbals. Um, yeah, so I have this gimbal. I'm gonna do a couple of things, but I saw I thought I saw a camera review. Oh no, no, it's about the WoW camera coming. So Jimmy's gonna do a live stream next week. Jimmy Chang on Red 35. Uh, he's gonna do a live stream, I think at 1 a.m. And it's possible I might be on that stream. We're trying to set that up maybe so that a group of us can be there after the announcement of the new WoW camera. But whether we're there or not, right? The usual suspects, Peter and Robin, Ben. You should definitely, watch Jimmy because he's an Olympus visionary. He may even already have the camera in hand, you know, but he definitely has probably more information than anyone else would, being one of the few visionaries on YouTube anymore. Um, so I encourage you to check that out. If not live at 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, maybe, later on. And with any luck, I'll be on there. When I agreed to be on there, I said, "Yeah, I'd love to go on." Right? I didn't realize it was 1 a.m. in the morning for me. I was like, "Well," so after I found that out a few hours later, I paused a little bit. I was like, "Wait a minute, 1 a.m. in the morning." Uh, so I'm gonna have to like go to bed at like 7 p.m., wake up around midnight, and then I can probably make it through a live stream at 1. So I'll go back to the medieval sleeping type times. And then another thing, I posted a week ago what I thought the WoW camera would be in the community section tab. It's going to have the IMX 472 sensor, 20 megapixels, BSI with quad Bayer sensor for 2 stops improvement, plus improvements in autofocus, birds, planes, all of that stuff, the AI autofocus. 4K 60p, 422 10-bit internal, 120 frame per second, pro capture. I put all that in there, right? And yesterday, um, 43 Rumors published almost word for word the exact same thing I put in my uh, speculation about what the WoW camera would be. And they said, from trusted sources. So I wonder if I'm that trusted source. I seriously doubt it, but uh, I thought it was interesting that uh, it was almost word for word what I put in my community post, and a week ago. And I don't know why I posted that. I don't normally post things like that, but I posted it because I I just had a few minutes, and I said, uh, I thought one of the most I don't want to talk about it too much today because we're going to live stream it when it's actually announced. But the feedback was kind of mixed, right? There's 50 some comments there, I think. And I've read them all. I didn't respond to any. I just read them all. Uh, but it was mixed, right? Some people were excited and are looking forward to it. Others were like, well, 3 years ago, this would have been great. um, but I think when you look at it from a Micro Four Thirds perspective or system, this is going to be an awesome camera. And it's kind of like when you tell somebody, wow, um, you look good for your age, right? It's like when you talk about Micro Four Thirds, you gotta put it in a context. This is really awesome for a Micro Four Thirds sensor, right? And assuming the only criteria you have for cameras is the image quality. And that to me is one of the least important things. I mean, it's important, right? If there's top 5 things I look for in a camera, image quality is going to be number 5, probably. Number 1 will always be ergonomics and handling. 2 would be like the build quality. 3 would be like features. I'm just going off the top of my head. Would be features and things that I want to see in a camera. 4 would be the aesthetics, how it looks, you know. And then 5 would be image quality. And I put image quality, kind of down there because really most cameras perform well enough for 99.9% of what I do. And it's really the least important thing when it comes to the final image that you create. Assuming you're sort of an amateur and you just enjoy photography, ultimately the image quality itself is the least important thing. It's about capturing that moment, some memory in your life or event that's going on in your life, or just enjoying the craft itself, doing landscapes, street photography, and capturing those really interesting and dynamic images in a scene that might tell a story. Or if you're a more technical type photographer like myself, where you like to look at geometry and composition, and you enjoy it. It's a hobby. You enjoy the craft. You're not trying to change the world with your photography, right? You just want to take pictures and find pleasure in that. Um, yeah, they're going to compare it to the full frame flagships of Sony, Canon, and Nikon, and that's fine. Uh, I think if they want to compare it to that, that's fine. You're not going to switch any full frame users over to Micro Four Thirds uh, that are shooting professionally, right? Meaning there's a lot of and I'm not talking about sports action wildlife. If you get a Micro Four Thirds camera with a 300 millimeter f4, you're going to get amazing images. And in that respect, you might get some people converting because the portability of the system has a lot of advantages in that type of photography. Hiking, landscape, those kind of things where you can cut your weight in half. and get the same focal lengths and fields of view with half the weight. Because again, ultimately the image quality is not as critical as capturing the image itself. But everybody, and that's just me. Everybody has a different, if you're trying to capture birds in flight and you want to see every little string in the feather, uh, you're gonna be a little more critical of camera systems in general, lenses and stuff like that. And if you're into that kind of photography, then yeah, maybe those things are critical, and you're gonna be comparing it to full frame systems or other, not, let's not say full frame, but other camera systems uh, that if they can deliver a sharper image, even and weight is not an issue for you at all, right? Then maybe Micro Four Thirds is not the right system for you. Um, but I I've seen so many images off that 300 millimeter f4, and I've seen a lot of images off the 150 to 400, and they just look tack sharp to me. Like I don't know anybody that would be unsatisfied with that image. But there's always the pixel peepers, 500% said, "Oh, wow, there's a little pixelation in this one feather. I don't think, I don't think I'm gonna get this camera." And but, sports action wildlife, it's about 90% skill, and then I'd say the rest is the gear itself. And there's certainly features in the Olympus camera systems now, like the M1 Mark II and III with Pro Capture, that give you tremendous capability in the field to capture those decisive moments and interesting moments in wildlife. Uh, yeah, someone made a comment that they like to buy the cameras used after they've, come down in price a little bit. And the EM1 Mark III, let's take that for an example. It's been out 3 years now, right? Or two, a little over two since it was announced. And it's about 300 bucks off what it was. EM5 Mark III is quite a bit discounted from what it was. I think it came out at 14.99, and now you're seeing it between, you know, 1,000 and 1,200, depending on the sale, right? So that's been substantially marked down, which would imply to me that it didn't get a lot of traction. And it's really a great camera. Whenever I take it out, I'm just always I'm never I never I'm never wanting more than what I can do in the EM5 Mark III in terms of capability and capturing images. And certainly image quality is up there with the best. And that's what's kind of nice about uh, Olympus cameras in general. And it's probably true for any manufacturer, but any camera across the board is going to give you great image quality. um, So you don't have to you just have to choose the form factor that you like. Do you want super light, compact EM5 Mark III? You want something a little more substantial and durable and, weather sealing, top-notch weather sealing, EM1 Mark II or 3. Uh, and then, you want a rangefinder style, you can get one of the pen cameras. So all of these cameras deliver excellent image quality. I could easily go out with my EM10 Mark II. That camera's 5 or 6 years old now, and still do the same kind of work that I do professionally with commercial real estate, and also as an amateur, on photo walks and things like that. So and I think Peter did. Oh my God, did you see Peter Forsgaard's video? Where he called himself from 10 years ago. So I wonder if he shaved his beard off and made that video, or he has a twin brother he has never mentioned before. That was pretty awesome. If you haven't seen his most recent video, you got to watch that. I was impressed. uh that took quite a bit of work, however he did it, you know, because you have to plan ahead that you're gonna shave your beard, so you have to plan out your whole conversation, but I don't know. I'm curious if he did or not. We'll have to see his next video that comes out if his beard is gone or not. Um, there's a question here from Gigafish. Opinion on the 10D to 90D line. That line is wide open to take over. I have no idea. Is that a Canon? That sounds like a Canon to me. I all I know is Canon makes great cameras. I think those are DSLRs. I think if you were starting out, you can get a really good deal on a DSLR, it makes complete sense to me, and get a good used DSLR, and you can get the lenses cheap now. But you have a Sony A7 II and a few lenses. I don't see any reason to go to a Canon DSLR when you already have a great camera. Uh, but that's not what you asked me. You didn't ask me should you switch, right? You asked me what I think of that particular uh, lineup, and I don't have an opinion, honestly. I've never shot with a Canon 10D or 90D or any of the Ds. I do have a Canon camera I shot with yesterday, actually. A little Canon Elf. Um, I bought this a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, uh, and have hardly used it. But I want to take it out, and start using it a little bit. Kind of like my Fuji X-T30. That's been sitting in my drive cabinet for 2 years. And I finally took it out when I went to Ellicott City. And I posted all those on my Flickr page too, and Instagram if you guys follow any of that stuff. Because I bought a 35 millimeter f2 for it. It's cheap lens, 199, kind of the plastic, fantastic, nifty 50 equivalent. Uh, because I just didn't like that 18 to whatever it is zoom lens that I bought with it. Uh, that lens has some advantages because it has inland stabilization, but it's just kind of bulky on the camera, in my opinion, because it's such a small camera. It's like the size of my Pen F, and then you put this heavy lens on, and so I never took it out because I didn't like, again, number one, like I said before, ergonomics and handling. I did not like the handling and ergonomics with that giant lens on it, relatively speaking. It's the same reason I don't use my 12 to 40 Pro that much. I just feel like that lens is very, very bulky on my Pen F or my EM5 Mark III. Now, when I take my EM1s out, that is my lens of choice when I use that camera, because that camera has a good substantial grip, and it's like bread and butter. That's like the perfect combination. It's a 12 to 40 Pro with an EM1 camera. Uh, that is an excellent combination. Just like the uh, Fuji with the 35 millimeter f2. To me, that's perfect combination. Um, so yeah, sorry, I don't have an opinion other than if you're starting out, I don't think it's a bad choice on Canons or DSLRs in general. But I have about 3 or 4 Canon cameras, and actually back in the early 2000s, like the last time I really shot photography until I got back into it. And I wouldn't say really shot photography. I just wanted a compact camera to capture pictures of my dogs. Uh, I have 2 other Canon ELPH cameras from the early 2000s. Let me grab them real quick. And you know, the reason I'm bringing these out, so here's the Canon, the newest one, very small. I mean, it's tiny. It's smaller than my TG5. Here's my Canon ELPH. This is the S400. I don't know when I bought this. I wonder if there's a date on here. It says made in Japan. But yeah, I don't see any date on here. Ooh, wow, it powered on. Check that out. I don't believe it. Wow, that's fascinating. Look at that. It actually came on. This is a 4 megapixel camera. Let me turn this off. Ooh, I might have to take this out. Let's see. And it has a compact flash card in here, 500 meg. And then this is my other power shot. I think I bought this one before I bought the S400. This is an S100. Let's push the power button. Ah, nothing. Probably no battery in here. Oh, wow, the battery is missing. I may never shoot this again. And this also took, look at that, the door just fell off. I may never shoot this one again. Because I don't know if I have the battery. And, you know, what is this? This is a, how many, this is 2.1 megapixels. How come this won't turn off? I think the battery's too weak to turn off, if that makes any sense. It doesn't have enough juice to retract the lens. That's interesting. I have a universal battery charger, so I'll be able to charge this battery. Ooh, this is a generic battery too. DigiPower. So I'll charge this up and yeah, maybe I'll do a photo walk with these. Oh, ah, crap. I broke the fucking, sorry. I broke the door on it just now. Man, 20 years I've had this camera. And then okay, it's not completely broken, but the little tab is. Unbelievable. Anyhow, all right, this is my Fuji. This is a 2.3 megapixel MX2700. And this is my Fuji 2.3 megapixel. This is a MX2900. I think I bought this one first, and then I got this one afterwards. It's a little smaller, as you can see. And these use those really thin, paper thin, wafer thin. What is it? Where is it? Memory cards. Now I'm sure I got a memory card for it somewhere, but it uses those weird flat things. Yeah, I dropped two things at once, right? The camera and the F-bomb. I don't know what's up with my language lately, but I noticed I've been dropping the F-bomb and some other words lately. Not on camera, but this was a great camera. It has the chrome simulation. I got another Fuji bridge camera in the closet there. But this is my point. Even back when I was looking at cameras back in the early 2000s, maybe late 90s, but anyway, early 2000s, I was looking for the smallest, most compact camera I could carry with me that gave me good image quality. And I remember going on DP Review and pixel peeping all of the different cameras before I knew anything about, you know, lenses and things. But I was always looking for the smaller. Wow, this camera has an actual viewfinder, an optical viewfinder. It's not even digital. How about this one? This one, yeah, this one's also optical viewfinder. I wish the battery was good. I could see if the view changes, if the optical viewfinder changes with the zooming. Because if it does, this is almost like a DSLR. This one is, yep, this one is optical as well. Even this one has an optical viewfinder right here. I'll be dang. That's crazy. And all of them still work as far as I know. But I'm always looking for the smallest. So when I got back into photography in about 2012, 2013, because there's this long gap, you know. Uh, and when I say get back into photography, I really was never into photography since college. In college, I was into photography. And then in the 2000s, I got a couple of dogs and I wanted to take pictures of my dogs. So I bought these little compact cameras just to take pictures of them because we didn't have cell phones with cameras on them and all. If cell phones had cameras on them back then, I probably wouldn't even have bought this, which is the case now, right, these days. But uh so 2012, 2013, I was looking for small cameras. So I ended up with a Sony NEX 6, which is sort of like the A6100 or yeah, it's kind of like the A6100 if you're not familiar with the NEX cameras. Because they were small and compact. And then man, I after about a year of shooting with that, I didn't like it because it just felt like a piece of technology and not a camera. So I went over and I got a Nikon DSLR. I can't remember which one. I had I think it was a D7100. I switched over to that and then a D750 and I held on to that until only about 4 years. And then I got tired of the bulk of the DSLR system, right? So I looked at the M10 Mark II and the Fuji X-T10 back in 2015 or 2016. And that's when I found joy again in photography was with the Micro Four Thirds system because they were compact, lightweight, and the image quality was fine. Again, even then my bar for image quality was pretty low, but I was surprised how good it was. Like it was much better than I expected. And the rest is history, right? Uh, and I hope Olympus continues to make small compact light cameras. Because the OM1, I think is what it's going to be called, is is like the M1 Mark III, and it's going to be a fabulous camera, I'm sure. But a lot of the specs, you know, the in particular two stops, better low light and performance, or 120 frame per second, pro capture, things like that. Those are pretty low on my list of things I want in a new camera. I'll probably end up getting one. It's just I can't help myself. It's just the way it is. If I trade in my EM1 Mark III and EM1 Mark II, and I got a little bit of store credit from trading in my Nikon lenses, I might be able to get pretty good. I might not have to pay too much out of pocket up front, right? I'm not going to get a good deal on it if it just comes out the door and I'm paying full price. But like I said, I estimated it's going to be $24.99. Indications are maybe a little less than that, maybe $21.99. Whatever it is, it's going to be $2,000 plus camera, and that's a big nut to crack. You know, for features that aren't going to benefit my photography. Yeah, I like to street shoot at night sometimes, and having better low light performance will come in handy in those circumstances, but it's not that critical to me. I don't mind shooting at high ISO now with the cameras I have now. The image quality is fine for what I do. Again, I'm not trying to change the world or get published or anything like that. I just want to enjoy taking pictures. And so the two stops improvement is nice, but not critical for me to drop $2,000. 120 frame per second, man, never in my life would I I'm not a big fan of the Pro Capture now, even at 60 frames per second, because you just go through thousands of images. We just, man. David Crooks, I know, likes that. I hope you're feeling better, by the way. I know you came down a little bit. But so, those are going to be two headliners. Now, the 4K 60p with better low light performance, the video side of it is interesting to me because I do video work professionally, right? And if I can get a smaller, lighter system with the same performance I can get out of, say, my Panasonic S5, that may be something I would put a lot of weight in, because that's a business decision. Because let me show you how I'm shooting now with this thing. Look at this honking thing. This is my S5, right? Let me see if I can get it in the light. And I got this ginormous lens on it, right? So let me explain what's going on here. This is the Panasonic S5 with a Nikon to L mount adapter, right here. And then I have a, what is this? A 14 millimeter f2.8 f mount lens. Because I got this lens used for $220 or something. It's mint. But it gives me the wide angle I need so that I can achieve my hyperfocal distance, at a shorter distance instead of, right now I have a 20 millimeter lens, kit lens that came with the camera. It zooms out to 20 millimeters, but it's not wide enough. It's wide enough really for the work, almost. I mean, I can work with that, but the problem is I can't get the hyperfocal distance within 8 feet. I have to stop down to like f8 to get the hyperfocal distance that I want. With this lens, I can achieve the same hyperfocal distance like a stop or 2 stops faster, which gives me better low light capability. I can shoot at lower ISO for my video and get better video quality. But this is a honking, system, right? With this lens and everything. I don't even know what this weighs. Let's see. I'm going to weigh this real quick, and I'll tell you why this is important. 3 pounds. 3 pounds, which is almost 1,400 kilograms, because I don't think the battery's in here. Oh, it is. So it's almost 1,400 kilograms with the plate here and everything. That is pushing the limits of my gimbal. And the problem is when I'm using my gimbal and the camera's too heavy, you get jitters sometimes because the motors can't handle the heavy weight. Now, supposedly it can handle 4 pounds, so this is a pound under the limit. So technically, yeah, the gimbal can handle this camera, but in practice, I can tell you, you angle that camera the wrong way on a gimbal, and you get a little jitter sometimes, and that's the problem. Whereas my EM1 Mark III with my 7-14 lens is about half the weight. It's well under 2 pounds. And that on a gimbal, no problem. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say kilograms? It's grams. 1,400 grams. my mistake. Might as well be 1,400 kilograms when it's on a gimbal because it's just a little bit too heavy. And also the range of motion, because of the size of this, the range of motion is limited too on the gimbal. Not that I need 360 range of motion, but it is more limited with this because a lot of times I'll shoot my video with the screen out like this, right? So range of motion is not as critical. I really only need about 45 degrees in any direction when I'm using a gimbal for my work. But I'm not going to be doing any kind of, inception type videos where the camera's spinning around, right? Because it just, uh, the camera's too heavy for the gimbal, and I start to get jitters when the motors get a little bit taxed. Because yeah, it's 3 pounds, but when you start moving, right, you have to add a little bit of inertia weight to the whole thing, right? When you're moving around, that inertia adds easily, doubles the weight of the camera, right? G-force, in other words. So in that respect, the WOW camera, if the video proves to be superior in terms of low noise at higher ISO or better dynamic range, because it needs to be able to shoot log, right? V log, the OM log that comes is adequate, but if we can get a truly flat profile in camera, 4K 60, because I have to shoot 4K 30. I was shooting 4K 30 a lot when I was using the EM1 before I switched over to the S5. If I have to shoot 4K, if I can shoot 4K 60 and still get good low light performance at half the weight, then that would be very tempting, and I could make this a business decision. I would get the camera. But okay, so those are my thoughts on the, preliminary thoughts on the OM WOW camera, because the specs are leaked, and those are my priorities when it comes to making a purchasing decision. Aside from gas, sometimes you just I buy stuff because I just gotta get it, even though there's no logical reason for it. Like the Pen F, there was no logical reason for it. I just wanted it, you know. Um, the Hasselblad, no logical reason to buy a camera like that. Especially, I paid $1,300 for it. No reason for it, but sometimes you just want things, and it's okay. The good thing is I'm single and I don't have to like clear it with anybody other than my credit card. If it clears my credit card, we're all on the same page. We all agree I need this camera. Um, yeah, I know. Who would not want a Pen F? Let me follow up on some of the chat here. Oh, you got to go, David? Okay. Thanks for dropping in. And Plato says, sorry, I've been jibber jabbering. I haven't been interacting with you guys. Plato says he found a used Pen F mint for 600 pounds. It will look nice on the coffee table. Yeah, just get it. You won't regret it. Trust me. The build quality of that the ergonomics are not great, right? But the build quality is amazing. Amazing. I just love it. And then aesthetics, right? So it really hits 2 out of my 5 things in a big way. Aesthetics and build quality. It outweighs the ergonomic problems I have with it. because it's not like an EM1 Mark III, which has the best ergonomics of any camera I've ever tried. But yeah, I would get it. I'm half tempted to get a second one, but I shouldn't. The viewfinder, okay. Ben said the viewfinder alone had you sold. I assume you're talking about the Pen F. The Pen F has a viewfinder. And DJM says the Pen F and the Fuji X100 series are simply works of art. Yeah, they are beautiful. I really like the X100 looks of the X100, but uh, I bought one and used it for a week or two, and I couldn't come to grips with it in terms of using it in the field. Uh, Mainly because it had zero IBIS, and I bought it to go night shooting, street photography, and I was struggling. It's user problem, not camera problem. The camera is awesome, but as a user, I was struggling using the camera at very slow shutter speeds, and all my images were blurry. So I bought the XT30 with that honking lens because it had IBIS in the lens, right? Not IBIS, but it had image stabilization in the lens. So I said that's going to offset any problems I have with slow shutter speeds. And then what happened is I solved one problem, but I created another. Now it's bulky. So that's why it sat on my shelf for, 2 years. But getting the 35 millimeter f2 and just taking it out in the daytime, I'm not going to take it out at night. But f2 is pretty fast. I might be able to get away with it. Uh, but generally for daytime photography, like when I went to Ellicott City, it was perfect. Perfect combination XT30 with the f2. Um, the 12 to 45 Pro. Yeah, I'm content with the Pen F. I'm content with the 17 f1.8 or the 25. I've been shooting the 25 millimeter lately. I'm pretty content with that. Because it's fast, right? F1.8s. I would prefer that over having a zoom f4. I'm more comfortable swapping lenses to get the extra speed. I mean, we're talking about 2 1/3 stops difference. And for shooting at night, that's a big deal, right? Yeah, the Ibis and the M1s, well, all of the Olympuses are really good. Uh, even though on paper it's about the same as any other camera that has Ibis now, but in practice, it's really good. Here's something we can do. Um, is there anything else I wanted to talk about? I did my photo job this week. I went to the airport. Uh, and I haven't bought anything. Yeah, I gotta do. Okay, I've talked about what I've been up to, but I was thinking, this is kind of short notice. But does anybody want to come on live with me? As a guest, you're welcome to. I'll put the link out, and we can just we can just jibber jabber. I was gonna say shoot the what. Uh, is it gonna let me type in here? Yeah. All right. So there's a link if anybody wants to come in live and ask me a question, do any kind of tech support, or just talk about photography, you're welcome to join me. Oh, you're heading out, right? Yeah. Okay, Randy, we'll catch up with you next time. Go out and shoot. That's much better than sitting here watching me. And I always tell, everyone will tell you, go out and shoot. Don't sit here on YouTube and just waste hours away like I do. Gosh, I've been watching so much YouTube. I've been watching what's his name? Daniel Milnor? I think that's his name. He's an interesting character. Um he he he's fun to watch. He's really good at um painting a picture. All his videos, he tells you a story. Not all. He has Q&A and all different kinds, but the ones I watch, it's like he'll start telling a story about something he did when he was doing photography. He's like a creative guy now for Blurb, but he's really good at painting a picture when he tells a story, and that's something I really admire. So I've been watching that more for his skill set in telling a story and painting a picture, and the content is fine. What he talks about is not terribly interesting to me. Uh, the content itself, in terms of what information he's sharing, is not relevant to me, right? As for what I do. But I really like how he tells a story, and I so yeah, he's got a sense of humor that connects with me. I kind of like the way he he just draws on so many things. He has a lot of he's a little younger than me. But um yeah, if you haven't seen Daniel Milnor, I think that's his name. Or is it Daniel Minor? Uh anyway, you'll find him. Shifter Media. I got to check out his website. But he's an interesting character and gives you a lot of insight into the photography world that he's in, right? He's not too much into other than being on YouTube, he's not really into the online Instagram and Facebook and all of that. He's more of uh, when he was doing it, he was more into photojournalism and projects, long-term projects, and just doing stuff for himself. I think he has a project now, AG23, where he's publishing works of various contributors in photography. So that'll be interesting. Like I said, I'm just catching up with him and seeing what he's all about. But so far, I'm really enjoying his channel, and I just love his sense of humor and the way he tells stories and explains things. Milnor, thank you, Meryl. Milnor, Daniel Milnor. And he shoots most of his videos in black and white on YouTube, which is interesting. When I first saw him, I saw him on another channel. I think it was called Advancing Your Photography. And my first impressions of him were uh, not, were very superficial. I didn't like him at all. When I watched him on Advancing Your Photography, I said, he's got some good advice, but who is this guy? It's like he looks like a total like phony to me, right? And but somehow he piqued my interest, and then I saw he had his own channel, and I started watching, and I'm like, this guy's actually has a lot of experience and a very interesting perspective on photography, and it's very very realistic, right? Um, so anyway, if you go over there, uh, you may or may not, you might love him or hate him, but he's definitely an interesting character in photography. Wow, half meter of snow. That's a lot. That's a lot of snow. Let's see. Larry Orr says, I'm considering, I'm having a hard time reading this because the print is so small. What is this button? Auto scrolls enabled. Dang it, I can't. The print is so small on this thing. Maybe. Oh, I was considering, if I read it on this screen, it's bigger. I was considering a 12 to 45 Pro lens for my EM5 Mark III, but after hearing your comments, I may go with a 14 to 42 Easy. I would probably get the regular zoom kit lens, the 14 to 42, or better yet, the Panasonic 12 to 32 kit lens, Pancake. Because the power zoom on the Olympus side, I've had this problem personally where just the lens stopped working. And I've had several viewers tell me the same thing where their lens stopped working, the power zoom, and they would get a lens error and they couldn't use the lens anymore. So I would get the manual zoom of the Olympus Panasonic 14 or Olympus 14 to 42, but the Panasonic 12 to 32 is a very sharp lens, sharper than the Olympus 14 to 42. You lose a little bit of reach, right? It only goes to 32 millimeters, but you get more on the wide end, which for me is more preferable. And going from 32 to 42 is pretty substantial, but so is going from 14 to 12 millimeters on the wide end. So I think I would avoid the Power Easy lens and get the 12 to 32 from Panasonic or the manual zoom. Now the Panasonic doesn't have focusing on it. So if you like to manually focus, go with the Olympus. And stop it down to f5.6 or f8 and you'll get fine images out of it. But the 12 to 32 is definitely a sharper lens. And then ultimately the 12 to 45 Pro, it's not too bad. It's kind of at the limit of the kind of lens I would probably want to put on my camera in terms of size and weight. But I don't have that lens because I have a 12 to 40 Pro, the 2.8. So I have no reason to buy 12 to 45 just because it's a little bit smaller and lighter, right? Tony's got a good point. Cameras just do more than we need, and they have for a long time, in my opinion, for just the amateur photographer, right? Oh, Andrew has some feedback here. He says, I have the 12 to 45 f4 Pro and the 14 to 42 RN, and the 12 to 45 Pro is sharper across the board, especially wide open. Oh yeah, no question. And it's weather sealed, right? So if you want weather sealing and you want a super sharp lens and super close focusing ability, that's why you pay the big bucks for the Pro lenses, right? They're awesome. And I don't think the 12 to 45 is too big. It's kind of like at my personal limit. But the ultimate lens really is, I think, that Panasonic 12 to 32 Pancake. John Allen has the 12 to 50. Yep, that's a good lens. And yeah, Ben got the whoops, I clicked the wrong button. But Ben's wife got the Pen F with the 14 to 42 Pancake, and that's what I got with my Pen F when I first bought it. But mine broke. And I like the lens. It's very compact and it's very sharp. I mean, I would I would argue it's maybe a little sharper than the manual zoom one, but we're splitting hairs, right? Let's just say they're the same. But my problem, and I bought another one, so I have it again because I do like the lens. But I in the back of my head, I'm like, when is this gonna fail? Right? That's my only problem with that lens. So when people ask me, about that lens, I have to tell them, there's a chance that thing could break later. Um, Whereas the 14 to 42 and manually zooming is a little easier too, right? Than doing the power zoom. You feel like you're waiting forever for it to zoom out to what you want or to zoom in. Oh yeah, the little pop-up cover. There's like an automatic lens cap with those lenses that you can get too. And here's some more. Peter says, I have a lot of Ollie kit lenses and bought the Panasonic 12 to 62.8 after pondering many options. It transformed my photos, although I read the Pana 3.5 is sharp. Uh, yeah, I assume you mean the 12 to 32 Panasonic because that starts, I think, at f3.5. Yeah, Panasonic makes great lenses. No question. The 12 to 60 is a little bulky. It's kind of like the 12 to 40 Pro f2.8, but they're very sharp lenses. And Essie says, better than the Lumix 12 to 32 compact, but manual zoom. I'm not sure what you mean, Essie. You might have to reword that. Um, and Lasipa says, out with the M5 Mark III, birds, red squirrels with the 40 to 150 Pro and 2x teleconverter denoise AI worked really well. No camera would be good if the noise is improved. The M1X and the M1 Mark III not worth the upgrade. Um, yes, I would agree with that overall. The only significant improvement, I think, for what you're talking about, the AF, the face detect AF in the M1 Mark III is awesome. So if you do people pictures, you will not regret upgrading to the EM1 Mark III. But with the WOW camera coming out, I would wait. I would wait. I wouldn't get an EM1 Mark III with that camera coming out. But the face detect is significantly improved on the M1 Mark III over the M1 Mark II and the M5 Mark III. Face detect is a joke on those cameras compared to the EM1 Mark III. Um, so definitely, I think for sports wildlife type stuff, EM5 Mark III is fine because you're not trying to do face detect. You're just doing single point continuous autofocus probably. And all of the cameras are good at that. EM1 Mark II, with the phase detect. EM1 Mark II, EM5 Mark III, EM1 Mark III. Awesome for a single point or group type focusing with continuous autofocus. No need to get an EM1 Mark III for that. But if you do any kind of people photography, no question, the EM1 Mark III is way better. Okay, Essex means the 12 to 32 is better, and I would agree. My copy of that lens is definitely sharper than the 14 to 42. Now again, we're pixel peeping, right? In practice and normal viewing and cropping, 14 to 42 is fine. But if you really want to know which is the better lens, the 12 to 32, in my opinion. I always got to have that caveat. Yeah, and Ben over here, he's also can confirm it's definitely good on EM1 Mark III. It's a big difference. And Andrew says, I've taken lots of great photos with my 14 to 42. Stop down to f5.6 is very good, but my 12 to 45 is clearly better. But the 14 to 40, yeah. So 14 to 42, like I was saying, yeah, you stop it down to f5.6 or on the longer end to f8, it produces great photos, and you really have to pixel peep to tell the difference. But yeah, you're at f8, right? Which is okay for most stuff, daytime. But if you can be at f4 wide open at night with a 12 to 45 and still get super sharp images, that may be something you need. Yeah, and yeah, the 12 to 32 is compact and it's a manual zoom. Yeah, I prefer manual zoom for photography. Any DxO Pure Raw updates? No, I don't use the Pure Raw. I have the Photolab 4 that has the Deep Prime algorithm built in. Finally, my Photolab 5, I may have mentioned in another stream, but I was having problems with the update to Photolab 5. But they did a recent update last week, fixed everything at this point that I was having problems with before. So they don't specifically mention the problem I was having in the firmware or whatever they call it, the software update. They didn't specifically mention the problem I was having with exporting processed images, but I had a photo job yesterday that I was working on, and it exported everything perfectly. So the problem that I was having before is totally gone. So that's the only thing I can say, but that's Photolab 5. In terms of image quality, for the deep prime and stuff, it's always been good. I don't know if they've done anything other than maybe add some new cameras and lenses. It'll be curious to see how long it takes for people to make a demosaicing thing for the new quad Bayer sensor that's coming out on the on the WOW camera, right? Oh, actually, I use a lens hood on mine. Um, I'd have to dig it out. I haven't used that lens in a while because I've been using just primes lately, the 25. But I do have a lens hood for a little rubber collapsible lens hood that I've used on my 14 to 42, but it has the same filter thread, so I use it on the 12 to 32 also. It's a little collapsible rubber hood. Where is that thing? I might be in here. Let's see. No, it's not. I need to get organized again. I had everything organized in all these little tubs and everything. But then, there's like one thing I'm looking for and it's not where it's supposed to be, and it's really frustrating. What's that? I don't know. Yeah, the answer is to learn your craft. No camera. Definitely. Oh, I didn't mean to unclick that. Okay, so learning your craft. Basically learn how to use your gear, right? And then also to get the results that you want. So like I said in the beginning, I'm never going to make awesome photos. I do it just because I enjoy it. And when I take a camera out, I'm very good at getting the exposure that I plan to get. And once you get to that point, you can work with any camera. Once you learn how to get your exposure right, And by correct, I mean the way that you intend it to be. Because, I like low key photography, uh, very, very dark black shadows and strong highlights. I kind of like that very punchy look. And you have to expose properly to get that look with minimal amount of noise and other issues that you get when you're going outside of what the camera thinks is the correct exposure. So exposure comp, gradation, because I do a lot of JPEG shooting for my personal stuff. My pro stuff, I have to shoot raw. But so, learning the craft, it sounds a little bit intimidating, right? Learn the craft, but it doesn't have to be. Just, just get good at learning exposure and getting the kind of images that you want with your camera, and you're you're going to take great images from there on out. Because a lot of challenges people have are with backlighting. That's the most common problem. Um, you know, bringing the shadows in, because not everybody's a low key type preference like I do, right? But you want to expose to the right so you get better shadow details, and then you process a little in post. So there's a lot of things that will help you get better images that you like. You really have to learn how to post process, basically, uh, particularly if you're exposing to the right. Because exposing to the right, the idea is to bring the shadows up without clipping your highlights. And but the image that you capture in camera is probably not the image that you want. So you're going to have to learn to post process that in some software, Olympus Workspace, Lightroom, etc. And so you really have to learn post processing, but also how you use your camera and also post processing to really get there in the end. So it's a long process, but it's fun, right? Learning HDR, learning bracketing, um, all that stuff. And George says, I'm frustrated that I recently bought DxO Pure Raw needlessly since I bought Photomatics and they won't refund it. Oh, you mean Photolab 5? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's 80 bucks down the drain, right? Or whatever you paid for that. Yeah, that sucks. They should be a little more flexible, but I'm with you. That would be frustrating. Roller coaster tone curve to bring back shadows is hard. Yeah, it depends how extreme your shadows are. If they're too extreme, you have to bracket, you know, and post process that. So that's what I mean is sometimes like like I was talking about the gimbal and pushing the weight on the gimbal. Uh Cameras are the same way with dealing with exposure. When you start pushing your camera near the limits of what the sensor's capable of capturing, it's the images are going to suffer. So at that point you have to start bracketing. And I probably bracket about 10 to 20% of my images uh when I go out, and I don't always use the bracketed images because I find that I can usually use one of the brackets that I took. But time to time, bracketing is the only way I'm going to get the exposure with the shadow and highlight details that I want. So I have to bracket and do an HDR blend later. And but if you're trying to capture a huge dynamic range in a single image, my advice really is follow the zone system that Ansel Adams has. You know, because they have these they have these, you look at specs of a camera and they say, "Oh, you can capture like 12, 13, 14 stops of dynamic range." And yeah, sometimes you can recover some amazing shadow detail with a little bit of noise because you have an A7 II, which is a 24 megapixel full frame camera. It definitely does a good job, but it has its limits too, right? Um, and if you can stay within the zone system, meaning shoot within 7 stops, plus or minus 3 stops of of uh, of exposure. So you don't want your shadows more than 3 stops darker than your baseline, and you don't want your highlights more than 3 stops over your baseline exposure. And if it goes over that, that's when you need to start bracketing uh, and blending and doing a lot of things in post processing. Because if your shadows are 4 or 5 stops underexposed, um, they're going to clean up nicer on a full frame 24 megapixel camera, but there's still going to be noise and loss of detail and problems. So just keep that in mind. Try and stay within 3 stops, plus or minus on a scene, and then you can recover. And this is on full frame. On micro four thirds, I would stay within 2 stops, and that's kind of pushing it. But I would stay within 2 stops dynamic range, so plus or minus two, so 4 stops total. Yeah, that's where I would go micro four thirds. APS-C about the same, 2 stops, maybe three, and then full frame closer to 3 stops. You're pretty good at recovering shadows without any loss of detail and noise, but oops. Any comments on the Olympus 75-1.8? Thinking of picking one up used. Okay, so that has got to be the sharpest lens I own, and noticeably, right? It's like whenever I use that lens, I'm just amazed at the detail. Now, I haven't done a side-by-side comparison because it's the only that focal length, I don't have any other good lenses at that focal length. I got like the 40 to 150 kit lenses, the 14 to 150 kit. Uh, so I don't have any good 75 millimeter focal length lens like a 40 to 150 Pro, right? To compare it against. But it's 70, man, that lens. And the only challenge is you have to be like, 6 or 10 feet away from your subject, typically at a minimum. And if they get further than that, that's okay. But uh, I use extension tubes with my 75 millimeter that lets me get in a lot closer with a little magnification, but the lens is sharp. I think if you're comfortable with that focal length, you won't regret getting that lens. It's a fantastic lens. It's hard to go take that lens out as your only lens, like a 25 millimeter. You could take that out and do everything. The 75 you have to take out with a purpose. It's a very, I mean, it's kind of a niche lens, like it's very specific because the focal length is tight. And I can tell you in practice, for me, when I was doing some portraits, the 45 is a better choice for doing portraits. The 75 is just so long. You have to get so far back from your subjects. I found it a little awkward using it for portraits, but for other stuff, when I'm out taking pictures of Ellie, uh, it's amazing. The background, you can get a very shallow depth of field with it, and the images are tack sharp. And it's a lens that I bought and didn't really use very much. But when I do use it, that's when you say it's worth every penny. It's like this is a fantastic lens. So um, if you're going to use, you don't have to use the lens very much, but when you do, it's fantastic. And I at this point I don't have any regrets buying that lens. I did the first couple of years I had it because I never used it. It was just so long. And when I tried to use it, it was too long. But I took it out a few times with some macro extension tubes and for some other things. And yeah, it's a great lens. Yeah, I think, yeah, for concerts, it would be awesome. You don't have to be in the photo pit, right? You can be in the audience a few rows back, and this lens would be great for that. Yeah, and reading that it's crazy sharp, but it's kind of yeah, like I said, it's a little strange. It's not a lens you're going to use a lot. At least it's not a lens that I use a lot, but when I do, I'm so happy. And like I said, if you get some extension tubes with it or use extension tubes with it, you can get some nice close up. Oh, Ben got the 45 1.2. Wow. Whoops. Watch V6 vlog on oh, V6 has a video on the 75. I think he does. I think I did see that. It's from a couple of years ago. Um, he's just fun to watch. I didn't think the images he captured were particularly interesting. I didn't like them too much. Uh, but he's fun to watch either way. Maybe you'll like the images he took. I don't remember liking the images he got that he took with it. Um, let me go in my Lightroom and see what I have. I don't think I've even broke that lens out this year, so I have to go back to 2021. Okay. So lens 75, 7.5. Where is it? $873 images last year with this lens. So that's not much out of like, you know, 13,000 images, only 873. These are the JPEGs. Where's my let me switch screens here. So there's one. I missed focus. Wait. And that was wide open at f1.8. Let me see. See, these are the kind of, these are, like this thing was probably 10 to 15 feet away from me, these little sticks. But it lets you get really close and it's really good compression. Let me see what this duck looks like. It's my shutter speed, 1/160th. Ooh, it's awful. Here I'm bragging on how sharp this lens is, and then I can't even show you one image. Let's see. Yeah, this is a good example. You have to shoot at a, because general rule of thumb, you always need to shoot at a pretty, double your shutter speed, right? So with a 75 millimeter lens, that's like a 150 millimeter equivalent. You should really be at about 1/300th of a second or faster on your shutter speed to get a good sharp image. So like this image, I'm at like 1/3200th of a second. I'm really, so you can, if you can see it over here, and you can see how sharp that is. Let me go to 100%. Um, I mean, if I back off and then punch in, I mean, it's really amazing. Um, let me see. Let me punch this up. Let's find another one that's these are ones I did with a macro extension tube. So very shallow depth of field, but I mean, let me find another one. Okay, how about this one? And these are the straight out of camera JPEGs here, right? No processing at all. But look how sharp that is. God, it's freaking amazing. Um, man, I had my shutter speed a little bit low here. because I was at f8. Stupid. Oh, I was using flash. That's why. That's why shutter speed didn't matter. I was using a flash. So let's see what else we got. How about these trees? What's my shutter speed here? 1/250th. That's kind of a bare minimum. But I'll leave that up. This is 100%, right? And then let me back off. But yeah. Wow, so much bad photo, so many bad photos in here. Like, just not very good at all. Hold on. How about this bird in a tree? Yeah. A little bit too far away. He's only about 2% of the frame there. I did a lot of flower stuff. Let's let that render. Wow, yeah, the depth of field, because I was using extension tubes, are really shallow. Like, this petal's already out of focus, but right in here, let me check 2020. Did I use this lens at all? I did some with Ellie. So, I mean, look how sharp that is. So I'm at f1.8, 1/1600th of a second. And look at the background, just totally blown out. And like I said, these are the straight out of camera JPEGs. This has an art filter applied, so that doesn't count. I was doing some art bracketing. Oh, daisies. Got to bug up my butt about daisies for some reason. Here's a sports action shot, right? So I'm at 1/1600th of a second. ISO 64. These settings aren't great. Let me try this one. Yeah, shutter speed's still not fast enough for her. But you can see these, when I nail focus, let me punch in. It's just amazing. These were some test shots I was doing. Oh, here's a photo walk. So my point of focus was it these people? Yeah, these people are in focus. Let's go to 200%. And I'm at what? 1/250th of a second, a little bit slow. Base ISO f2. But anyhow, yeah, I was definitely impressed. I'm impressed with this lens. I think it's great. Oh, let me go back to my normal screen. Oh, David, been waiting for the 100 macro. Yeah, that'll be an interesting lens. Talking about V6 vlogs. Yeah, V6 does a good job. I forget his name. And Plato's asking, what is that? Oh, crap. I can't read the chat on that window. Do I keep all my photos, even the bad ones? I delete a lot and keep about 10%. Yeah, I keep them all. I mean, I do curate them a bit when I take the time. But generally, like, any pictures of Ellie, I don't delete, even if they're bad, right? Um, a lot of, but yeah, I do delete a lot. I do delete a lot of photos. More so recently than I have in the past. I just don't have the energy to go back the last, 8 or 9 years and delete bad images. But for 2020 and 2021 and this year, I am deleting more images now. I wouldn't say I keep only 10%. I probably keep about half or more, but I'm definitely, yeah, I'm definitely deleting a lot more than I used to. Any black and white photo chat? Well, Peter Forsgard has the is black and white this week, and I, I assume you're talking about Peter Forsgard's black and white 52-week assignment, 52 assignment challenge, and this week is black and white. So I took a halfway decent black and white with my Fuji. Let me pull that up. Let's see if I can find it. I mean, I'll find it because I just took it the other day. Uh, it was, see, I got practice black and white, practice black and white. You can see I've been practicing a lot. Practice black and white. What is this? Oh, yeah, I was practicing with Ellie. So I've been practicing. I think it's in here. My Ellicott City. I'll show you the one I'm thinking about submitting for Peter's challenge. A little bit further down. Look at this. I went to an antique store. They had like a full-size mannequin there. Star Trek. I almost got it. Then I was thinking, man, how am I going to put that in my car? Anyway, where is it? I was bracketing 3 shots. I was bracketing 3 filters, the Acros and Chrome and Pro Neg. So it says 391, but it's really about 130 shots that I took that day. Where did it go? Give me a second. You guys tell me what you think of this shot when I find it. I know it's here. I should probably base it off a shutter speed because I was dragging the shutter when I took the shot. Look at this. There's a British telephone box. That's kind of cool. Um, is it not here? I'm going to be seriously upset. I was thinking about maybe this one as a black and white, but that's kind of boring. It's just an old building, you know? Let me close this. This is kind of cool too, but I thought I took that shot later than sooner. Is it? Oh, maybe it's in here, Lake Akatink. This was my Fuji too. Yeah, I took it here. I'm sorry. I thought I took it in Ellicott City, but I took it at Lake Akatink. It's one of these shots. Yeah, this one. So this is the shot I'm thinking about sending. I don't know. Now that I look at it, it looks like crap. but I was dragging the shutter and it's trying to do some motion blur for my black and white. Uh, but I'm thinking about going a little bit abstract or something with my black and white photo. Cause I shoot mostly, I wouldn't say mostly, I shoot a lot of black and white anyway. So you would think that this particular week's challenge would be easy, but I don't want to make it easy for me, right? I want it to be hard. So I'm really challenging myself to make a different black and white image than I would normally take. Um, because like I said, I got 130 black and white images from Ellicott City already, and a lot of them are pretty cool. But they're just pictures. There was nothing hard about it for me. Just my basic composition. I look for lines and angles and balance and lighting and exposure. For me, it's not challenging just to submit a black and white image. So I'm trying to think of a way to make it challenging for myself. And then I'll make a video about it, right? Like I did last week about that picture I did with the rain. Um, where is that? Yeah, let me show you this one. So you guys remember this? This is the straight out of camera JPEG. And the challenge was what? Uh, I forget even what the challenge was I submitted this one for. But it's black and white. It could easily go to this week's 52-week assignment, right? Um, but I don't want to do that again. So I looked at this image. I forget where I got this from. This is not my image. But I'm looking at this image. This image is really interesting to me. The lighting is pretty amazing. And her eyes, the iris of her eyes are very light. So what did they do to do that? I'm assuming a lot of this was done in camera. This may even be film, but I don't have a high quality image of this. Uh, I wish I could get a high quality image of this so I could really analyze what they did. Because you can decipher a lot about how they took the photo when you have a good copy of it. You can decipher, where was the lighting placed, what did they use, what kind of camera they used and lens they used, if there's exif data, if they used film, is it the grain that's making it, kind of. But this to me was, I don't know why this caught my eye, but I thought this was a pretty amazing image. So I'm either going to go that direction. Let me see what's some. I was practicing this. I thought this was kind of interesting. This is my picture. This I was just practicing flash. What's in here? Oh, this is when I was practicing the weather shot. So did I flag it? No, I didn't flag anything here. But let me show you something. For example, like this and this. I mean, these kind of shots have been done to death, right? But I was thinking about submitting this for the weather, because the challenge last week was weather, and this has been done to death. I didn't want to make an easy project for myself, so I ended up with let me find it here. I think this one. No, it's something like that. I ended up with one of those. Something like that. I don't know where the final one is. But I took a couple dozen shots in the rain to get one that was right. And with dogs, you have to take like 100 pictures to get one where it's just right. And Ellie was pretty tough. I like this one. Look at her. This was straight out of camera, but I think I was using the grainy film filter, art filter on this. So I still got a couple days to come up with an idea for my black and white submission. And oh, Marco, you found a high res shot. If it's online, just put the link, email me a link or something, and I'll pull it up. You were practicing with Flash and got arrested. What? How is that possible? Actually, you know what, Marco, if it's a link, let me just make you a moderator and you can put, oh, I can't do it here. Hold on. Where is, there. All right, now, Marco, you should be able to just put the link in the description, in the comments section, so everybody can look at it. It's a crop from a bigger shot. Okay. Interesting. The way that shot was cropped, I really liked how it cut off the side and the top. And I was trying to find because I was practicing, not practicing. I took a couple shots to try to imitate that look, just doing some self-portraits. Let me see if I can find that. That had to be more recent. It's not here. I might have deleted it. Yeah, I think I deleted it. But I did make a shot that was pretty close to that. Is it further back? Let me look here. No, I don't have it anymore. Ah. Oh, here we go. Let me see if I can pull this up. Now I can look. Where is it? Here. That kind of woman, a healthy woman is much like a wolf. Oh, it's just some captions there. Oh, nice. Yeah, I gotta look at this. Let me book this in my photo bookmarks. Um, wow. See, it's interesting. They left a little strand of hair in here and here. See, I couldn't see that on the copy that I had. So there's a lot of things about this image that just kind of break some rules, right? Like normally you wouldn't want this stray hair like in her face, but it's there and it's really interesting. I think this might have been filmed because there's a little bit of noise in the image and grain, like up in here. This looks like developer type grain. But it's interesting because these freckles up here match the freckles in her face too. right? Um, I like that. I mean, this is really an amazing image. Giles Clement, awesome. I got to check out more of his work or her work. So I'm pretty sure this was film because you can see dust specks here. Like there's a dust speck here and specks here. And there's imperfections from your classic portrait type rules of photography. And this noise up here, it's not noise, but there, to me it looks like it looks like developer noise, like when you're processing the film. Uh Matches the freckles in her face, the eyes. Like, how did you get the eyes like this? Maybe if she had green eyes and you put a green filter on the camera, shooting black. Okay, I'm see what I mean when you analyze this. You start to think about how did they do this? She probably has green eyes. They put a green filter on it, which is going to make her skin tones darker. But if you overexpose the image slightly, you can bring the skin tones back up, and then you add lighting. So they added lighting kind of directly above her to the top right and behind her, a little bit behind her. And by the catch light on the eyes, it's just an umbrella in the front, it looks like. But see, the shadow is almost straight down. It's a little bit off to the right, as you can tell from the way the key light is in her eyes. The umbrella is a little bit off center, but not much. Um, oh, see, Raging Boobily said the same thing I did just now. He thinks he used a green filter. So if they have a green eyes and you put a green filter on, it's going to make her eyes like really come out like that. And you add lighting to offset the green filter effect on skin tones because green filter is going to make your skin darker. So he added lighting to offset that, but was still able to maintain the shadows. Now, most likely, if you're shooting film, you don't do that in post-processing. You might adjust the exposure, but you don't like start pushing and pulling curves, usually. If you're a purist, right, for film. And I'm going to assume they are. But there's yeah, that's a great. This to me, while not technically perfect, this is an epic photo, in my opinion. You know, this is one of those photos that, like, if I took this photo, I would be so proud. I would be so happy if I took a photo like this. Because most of the photos I take now, they're okay, they're decent, right? But this is epic, you know? Is there any comment? Elos Ross, Blindstein.com is a complete knucklehead, but he answers me my New York NYU phone calls, whatever that is, and occasionally lets me go on rants. So he can't be called all bad. Oh, yes, he's ridiculously talented photographer. Yeah, so if we go there, you guys can check him out later. Look at all these photos. I mean, that one's okay. I'll have to look through these. These are just okay. This one is good. And you know, it's all personal preference, right? You guys might hate all of these. You might love them all. Oh, he's done a cover. Interesting. On a wheelchair. See, this is fascinating. Road and track. This is fascinating. Like if you just look at the cover side, right? Not, I guess this must be a two-page spread or something. But road and track is about driving cars, and there's a guy here in a wheelchair. So immediately you're curious, right? Just from the photo. And then you look over to the left, and then you're like, what is this guy doing in Road and Track magazine? This is amazing. Yeah, these are just kind of snapshots to me. It's interesting that you left the light in here. These look like digital photos. These might be film. I mean, there's a lot of good photos in here. I'll have to sit there and look at them, but nothing grabs my eye. This one with the wheelchair did grab my eye, though. This one grabs my eye with the wheelchair. These are okay. I mean, like these pictures here are, I mean, this is a little bit interesting. It's got photographic van. There's some journalistic interest in this photo. But these two photos here are kind of like the ones that you see a lot of YouTube tutorials on, right? How to get the lighting right, how to get the grading and the cinematic kind of colors look to it. Because you can tell these colors are very, uh, got a blue tint to them, but then there's some strong, yellows and things. Okay, I'm not going to dwell on this too much. Ooh, a Hasselblad. I think. I think that's a Hassie. Um, this is okay. I'll have to look into it more. But uh oh, Nicholas had the PowerShot G5. Yeah, I remember that camera. That is a good camera. And Lauren says I need to get back on the street. And Tony says I don't do people. Yeah. I have a video on the E500. I did a photo walk with the E500 and yeah, I got amazing images out of it. Definitely. Specifically because I wanted a Kodak sensor camera. And David says the eyes make it look like the Afghan. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, there is some hint of that. And I agree, Nicholas, the M1 fits like a glove. I mean, it's ergonomically, it's the nicest camera I've ever held. Ironically, I only use it for my professional work on a tripod, so I don't even use the take advantage of the ergonomics. That's irony. Irony. And then Lauren says, it's how the model really looks. No waxy image, which looks more like a mannequin. Thus, most model photography looks way too fake. Yeah. And it says the van shot. Oh, again, I can't read this. I'm just curious Lauren's perspective on this. The van shot was taken downward, thus making the subject appear smaller and less important. I guess that is what they wanted to show. Makes him less powerful. Not sure why. Yeah. We'll have to analyze, I'll have to analyze these. I don't know what I I would love to show more photos of other people, but I'm always a little bit uneasy about showing other people's work on my channel because it's not my work and they may not be comfortable with me broadcasting it, right? Uh, beyond the outlets that they choose to show their images. Because some people are very, I can see where some people be very particular about, I only want you to see my images when I publish them in this book or when I print them in a gallery, or in this case, they had them online, portfolios. So I was okay showing a few, but I didn't want to dwell on it too long because, again, he may not be interested in me showing his work through my channel. So I try to be respectful of people's work so that I don't, you know, well, you know where I'm going. I try to be respectful of other people's work and not show it on my channel. And there's a lot of channels that do that, like the Photographic Eye, terrific channel. Uh, very articulate, this guy. But 80% of his video is showing other people's work, right? And I get it. For educational purposes, for demonstration, that's why he's doing it. But I don't feel comfortable doing those kind of things, showing other people's work on my channel. Um, Unless it's you guys, right? It's fine. Like I got to do a photo editing stream again soon. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Let me think about it. I have to look at my calendar. It's empty, but I have to look up at the calendar to think about what is going on tomorrow. Then I'll put stuff in there. Um, but I I'd rather show my own work, even if it's not that good. But for illustrative purposes, I can show an image that I took and say, these are the principles that I'm applying and trying to show you or teach you or want to convey, um, versus showing other people's work, right? Um, oh, John Follows just came in. How you doing? No notification at all. I know. Well, I didn't put the stream up until about an hour before uh, the stream started, so that's why. Wow, I've been going on 2+ hours here, so maybe I should man, you walk in and then I gotta go, right? I don't have to go, right? But these long form streams, when they go over 2 hours, is just not pleasant sometimes, right? You see a thumbnail and it says 2 hours or 4 hours. It's like, man, who's gonna click on that? And not that I'm looking for clicks, right? I mean, my channel, I ask for subscribes and likes during the videos sometimes, but it's not my main goal of this channel to grow subscribers. You know, main goal really is to try to teach something or be educational and then share my joy and passion for this craft, this hobby, right? So if people subscribe or not is really irrelevant. And because it would be easy to drive subscribers to the channel. I would think. I'm making an assumption here that I could do this well, where I'm doing product reviews, camera reviews constantly, right? New gear comes out, uh, things like that. Gear reviews, constant lenses, cameras, accessories. Those things drive a lot of traffic and ultimately more subscribers. But if I do a 10-minute photo walk, yeah, I'm lucky if I break 1,000 views on that and gain any subscribers. And live streaming in particular is really bad because I always lose subscribers. Because I think people are subscribing for the tutorials and things that I did a few years ago. And then they see a live stream and I'm like, oh my God, this is not what I signed up for, right? I do the live streams for me as much as I try to do it for you guys, to be honest. Um, would be nice to edit Ellie, a nice pup image to play with. um, I don't know. I could edit an image. I don't want to do it now. I'm getting kind of hungry actually. It's almost lunchtime here. Anyway, any other questions? Because I should probably wrap it up. What do you guys want? What do you guys think? You want me to stay on a little bit longer? It's kind of a loaded question, right? Lauren says, take Ellie downtown and people race over to have their photos taken. Ralph's quick chick magnet. Not really. She's she won't let anyone near me. If anyone approaches me, man, she will go full on rage. Murder, death, kill. So she's difficult to take. She would be very difficult to take in a crowded environment. Uh, Walks in the parks and things, I can keep enough distance from people and it's okay. But um, yeah, she's a little rough sometimes. Yeah, not good. That's for sure. It's horrifying to me. Sometimes I'll be taking a like I went to Annapolis, which is pretty crowded area, and it's very photographic. But I went to Annapolis and I was taking a picture of some boat or something, and I turn around and somebody is petting Ellie. I had a freaking heart attack because they have no idea. This dog is very unpredictable. But she was letting them pet her. I don't know what they did. They must have, I don't know how they did it. Anybody else comes near her like that, I'm telling you, it's game over. She'll go right for the jugular. Um, she's pretty harsh, but okay, everyone, I think I'm gonna go. So thanks everybody for coming in today. I always enjoy chit-chatting and telling you what's been going on. I don't know how I come on every week and jibber jabber for 2 hours, but somehow I manage. Um, but again, look out for Jimmy Chang, 1 a.m. I don't know if that's Tuesday morning, 1 a.m. I think that's right. But he has the stream up set up already. So click the bell notification for that so that you get reminded when it starts. And I will see you guys Sunday, most likely. I'll be back on Sunday. But I'm definitely going to bring back the photo editing streams. I really wanted to do one today, but things just didn't work out yesterday for me. So thanks again for joining me today. There's always a lot of fun. You guys have a good weekend.